Good morning, everyone. So, welcome to our next section of Azure Developer Community. Today, we have Ashirwad as a speaker for this session. So, Ashirwad has been a regular speaker for our all the meetups and conferences, but this is the first time we are having him for Azure Developer Community. So, before I introduce him and he gets started with his session, I would like to show you a few things around Azure Developer Community, like what it is and why we are doing this session today. So let me share my screen and present to you. I hope all of you are able to see my screen. So this is Azure Developer Community. So what is it? So it's a platform of Azure enthusiasts who can come here and network with different people where they can learn about different technologies and upskill them. So we started with this community on 26th of January, and it has been just close to 2 months. And we have already so many amazing community members in our this community. As you can see, we have 3,155 plus members already. And right now we are in 101 cities in India. So here's the goal that we want to achieve. So we want to make every one of you like upskilled. How to do that? This is the path. So here in the community, you will be learning about various like technologies and different things around Azure. So how to do that? You can attend our regular developer focus events like that you are doing today. So where our speakers and experts will be discussing about various best practices and their experiences, their knowledges that you can actually use in your professional and personal life. So what else? We talk about networking, we talk about community, that relationship. In this community also you'll be getting the opportunity to network with other like-minded community members where you can meet with industry experts, then community contributors and so on. What else? If you are a professional or if you are already experienced with anything on Azure, then you can use this platform to share experiences where you can showcase to the other members like what you have, and this will help the other members also to learn from your experiences. So it's not about just learning here. So once you learn, you can come here and showcase the skills and make others learn from your experiences. So that is how this community works. Also, this is how we are currently like, uh, I would say like scattered in whole India. So you can see we have covered almost every part of the India. So you can join any of your nearest communities by clicking on them. Like this is Azure Developer Community Ajmer, or you can see this is Bilaspur or something. So suppose if you are from maybe Madhya Pradesh and you want to search for your nearest community, which may be Indore, you can just search, and this is the community where you need to go and join. So once you join any of the nearest communities, you'll be getting regular updates and notifications about the upcoming events. So yeah, that is how you can join your nearest communities, and these are our partnering communities who are helping us spread the word about the community. And here are some of our past events that we have already hosted under Azure Developer Community. Recently, we have onboarded amazing these community organizers who are helping us upskill whole India by organizing several events and doing meetup sessions. So as you can see, Ashirwad is also one among the community organizers. So he takes care of the whole Jharkhand and Odisha region. So today's event has been hosted under these two regions, and he's also a great speaker. So yeah, here is all. And this is the one last thing that I would like to mention. So this is about updating your LinkedIn with your Azure skills. So you can learn about Azure by accessing your Azure skills. And once you do that, you can just update your profile, your LinkedIn profile with these Azure skills. So here is the video that will explain you what are the things you need to do. So, all right. That's all from my side. And yes, after this session, we also have a quiz where will be shown multiple questions that you can participate. And the top winners will be getting Azure certification exam vouchers that you can use to take your Azure certification exams. And once you successfully complete that, you will be a Azure certified professional. All right, so that's all. Let me bring Ashirwad on stage and then we can get started. Hey Ashirwad,
Hey Rohit, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good too. So, welcome back to
Awesome.
another session.
Yes. And yeah, so as I'm mentioning, Ashirwad, you are an you are also an organizer for the Jharkhand and Odisha region. So would you like to tell something about your communities that you are part of and you are managing?
Yes, Rohit. So, we basically have 6 communities across Jharkhand and Bhubaneswar. So, these target almost multiple cities. There are 3 in Bhubaneswar and 3 in Jharkhand. So, 3 in Odisha, which are Bhubaneswar, Raulkela, Berhampur, and in Jharkhand there's that's one is Jamshedpur, then there's Ranchi, then there's Bokaro. So if you people are part of any of the cities or belong to these states, do join in these communities. We are planning to host a number of sessions, getting an industry experts to talk on different topics that are revolving around Azure and cloud computing. So if you want to upskill, I would request you people to join in these communities to upskill yourself and as well as a community.
Awesome. So yeah, Ashirwad, so what's your session today about?
So the session today would be more on getting started with .NET SDKs for Azure. So let me just share my screen
Sure.
and get started, and we'll go on. Since it's a weekend, I don't want to keep people busy today attending a session. So, this is basically the topic: the getting started with .NET SDKs for Azure. So a bit about myself, as Rohit has already said that I am an organizer for Azure Developer Community across Odisha and Jharkhand. Apart from that, I'm a software engineer. I primarily work as an ASP.NET developer. I'm also an UiPath certified RPA dev, and I'm a cloud enthusiast. I have some cloud experience with AWS and IBM since the last 2 years, but most of my experience has been revolving around Azure. So this is about me. This is about my experience. So this is my Twitter handle. If you want to connect with me, you can connect with me over here. Or else, if you want to, look at some of my public repositories, you can check it out from my GitHub profile. If you want to look at my blogs, I do blog often, like once or twice every month on my site. That's codewithashirwad.com. Alternatively, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn to ask any of your queries which you have from this session or anything related to the SDKs of Azure or else on Azure functions, and I'm open to connect with you. So that's all about me. Let's look at the agenda for today. So the agenda is something like this. We're going to start out with what are SDKs, then discuss why do we need SDKs. Then we'll look into the Azure SDKs for .NET. There are multiple services in Azure, and you have a SDK for one of them. All of them, to be honest. So next, we are going to focus on Azure Blob Storage SDK for .NET. We are going to have a demo on that. Then we are going to look into Azure Text Analytics SDK for .NET. Then after that, we are going to have a problem statement, and we are going to use the things that we learned from the Blob Storage SDK demo and the Text Analytics SDK demo to build a solution for this. And then we'll have a Q&A session, and that's all. So what are SDKs? So what do you feel? What do people think? What are SDKs? If you think it technically, an SDK is a software development kit. It's a toolkit that app developers use to build apps using some pre-built components instead of having to build each of these components themselves. Right? We as a developer always want to reuse things. We don't want to reinvent the wheel again. If there is something already, it's open source, or else you have the license of a proprietary SDK, then why not use it? Why do you need to reinvent the whole wheel again and invest a lot of time and resources in that, right? So these are SDKs. So SDKs are normally provided by manufacturer of a hardware platform, or as an operating system, or as a programming language, or as a vendor. Like in our case, it's Azure. It provides an SDK to interact with the services. So now you may ask me, why do I need SDKs? I can do the same thing with APIs, right? Problem is, how do you make an API call? You define the endpoint, your URL endpoint of the API. After defining the endpoint, if you have authentication using beer tokens, you specify that. You specify the parameters. If you have query string, you give the query string. Then, if you are uploading a file, then you're putting the file content in that. You're defining a lot of things. And after that, it's not the end of the story over there. There's another thing, like the response that you get is a pure JSON file. You get a pure JSON response. Now you need to deserialize into an object again, and then process it in your application. There are too many things to handle while working with APIs. But with SDKs, the things get a bit easier. You just call a method, pass the values as a parameter to that, and it calls the APIs internally. Not all SDKs call an API, but in our case, these SDKs are actually calling the APIs of Azure services. So this is why SDKs are really helpful. So next, Azure SDKs for .NET. So we did, go through what are SDKs and why do we need SDKs and SDKs versus APIs. So what are Azure SDKs for .NET? So, there are a lot of services in Azure. So one being app configuration, then there's Cosmos DB, then there's text analytics. So I did mention 3. So before going much deeper, I want to say what the services also say. So app configurations allows you to centralize your application and feature settings. Like if you like as a ASP.NET developer, I store all my settings file while testing my application locally in an app setting.json. So I can put all those values inside an app configuration and get those value out there from the environment variables in Azure. So I can use this particular SDK to use that. Then there's a Cosmos DB SDK. So that Cosmos DB is an globally distributed multi-cloud database service. So this Cosmos DB SDK allows you to connect with an Azure Cosmos DB via the SQL API. Then there's text analytics service. It's a cognitive service. So you get an SDK to make API calls to that without actually defining all the parameters and all the things that your API needs to get an appropriate response by your own. So you can just make a method call like analyze sentiment and get the sentiment of the text that you have given it. So this form recognizer. So what's form recognizer? So it's again another cognitive service. So in which if you have a bill and you want to extract values out of all those bills or invoices, you just train a model. You pass in this bill as an image, or if it is there as an image, you just pass this image as an input, and you get back the response. You get the key value pair of all the invoices data that it gathered from it. Like there can be a price and the value of the price as a key value pair, as an example. So next there is a blob storage. So right? So what is a blob storage? A blob storage is an object storage solution for the cloud offered by Microsoft. So if you have unstructured data, you want to store it somewhere, then you can just dump it out in the blob storage. You can create a container and put all your files, and these files will be stored as a blob over there. Sorry. So these are some SDKs. There's one for Key Vault. I mentioned that there's app configurations. There's something called Key Vault. If you want to store your app settings and other secrets in a very secure way, then you can use Key Vaults. And there are a lot more. So you have heard about storage queues. You may have heard about Serverless Paas, and every other service that is there in Azure. You are going to find an SDK for that. So Azure has many SDKs for that. So as I mentioned earlier, in this particular talk, we are going to discuss about 2 of the Azure SDKs. One is Azure Blob Storage SDK, and the other being Azure Text Analytics SDK. So let's get started with an Azure Blob Storage SDK. So this SDK allows us to interact with our storage accounts and the containers and blobs that are there inside of it. So what we can do with that? We can upload blobs. These are files. We can create a container. So what a container? A container is like a logical grouping of all your files. Inside of a container, you can store all your files that you want to store inside one particular block. Suppose in our computer we have partitions of our hard disk like locally C, D, and E. So in D we want to store certain type of files, and in E we want to store certain different type of files. So we segregate our files in D or E depending upon our choice. So if you wanted to make such kind of segregation over here, then you can use a container. You can store like all your text files inside one container and all the images in other containers. So it's up to you how you want to use this container. So it's just a logical grouping. You can download blobs. This SDK allows you to download blobs. If you have some files over there and you want to get all those files from there, you can use this SDK. Suppose you have you're building an ASP.NET Core web API, and every time your endpoint gets a request from the user, you want to give it back a file that is there inside the blob storage, and you can use this SDK to do that. Apart from that, you can also enumerate a blob and do a lot more things. You can create a container, you can delete a container, you can add multiple files in a go. There are a lot many things that you can do. You can also create a snapshot, so you get a lot of flexibility. So what are the .NET classes there to interact with this blob storage? So when you install this SDKs, these SDKs are nothing but client libraries. In .NET, we install these libraries using NuGet. So these are basically NuGet packages that you need to install. So after you install that, you can use these classes to interact with the blob storage. So one is blob storage client. So when you are using a blob storage client, you have the power to manipulate Azure storage resources and blob containers. Then there's blob container client. So with blob container client, you can manipulate Azure storage containers and their blobs. Only the blobs that are there inside the scope of the containers that you have defined for this object. Then there's a blob client. So the blob client allows you to manipulate the storage blobs. You cannot, cannot manipulate the whole container, all the containers that are there in the instances, but you can definitely manipulate the blobs. You can delete it, create it, modify it, do those stuffs using the blob client. Then there's a blob download info. The blob download info, lets you get the properties and content written from downloading a blob. You can get all the metadata and all those information from that. So before going to the next slide, let's go to Visual Studio. As you can see, I have created a solution which has 3 projects. So this particular one is for the blob storage SDK. So to get started with it, you need to install an SDK. So right-click over there, click on Manage NuGet Packages. Then you need to install a NuGet package, that is Azure storage.blobs. Okay, so you'll get this. I have already installed it. So to follow along with this particular demo, you would need to install this particular SDK. You can just click over install, or else you can type in the command inside the package manager console to install it. Either way you can do it. I have already installed it. So if you have previously used the SDKs for blob storage, you may wonder that it shouldn't be Azure.storage.blobs. It should be Microsoft.azure.storage.blobs. But there has been some change in the SDKs. So one of the changes is this: the names have changed. So are the methods. So let's go to the program.cs file of this project. I told you that we can create containers using the blob storage SDK. So for doing that, we will need something called the connection string. So what's a connection string? So the connection string allows us to connect with this blob storage account. Alternatively, you can also use Microsoft Identity to authorize yourself as a valid user to access SSOs using Active Directory, Azure Active Directory. So let's go to our Azure portal. So this is a resource group inside of which I have my storage account already created. You can alternatively also create your storage account. So let's go to access keys and click on show keys and get a connection string. You can get your connection string like this and get back to here and just paste it over here. So the connection string is same, because I had a demo before this using this same storage account. So I have, given my connection string to my program. Then I need to create a Blob service client. So as I previously mentioned, Blob service client class allows you to manipulate Azure storage resources and Blob containers. So it gives you the full power to, create a container, delete a container, and all the files that are there inside a container. It also allows you to, create a container with multiple files. There are so many things that you can do. So right now we are interested only to create and container. So to create a container, we need to create an instance of the Blob service client. Then you need to pass in the connection string as a parameter over here. Once you do that, you need to make call to the create blob container async method. I'm making it as an asynchronous call, but it also supports synchronous calls too. So I'm giving the name as TSA container, GUID, new GUID string. So since I already had some files over here that can confuse the people, so I'm gonna change the name again. You can see there's already one name, so I'm gonna change it as container and run this one. So just to see whether it went well or not, I'm gonna just container create. I'm just gonna show a message over here that container created. Run this. Okay. I'm sorry, I just ran a different project. I need to set this as my starter project. Things do happen in demos. Sorry for that. So let's select this project as a starter project and then run it. This was the proposed solution which we're gonna work on. I showed it, so spoiler. So as you can see, the container has been created. So let's go back to Azure portal and see whether the container is created there or not. You can see that the container is there already. So since we have already created the container, let's delete it. I told you that we can also delete the containers. So how do we do that? So to delete a container, we need to use a method called delete if exists. So if a container exists with the name that we got there, so it's more like we created a container over there and we are going to take the same instance and see if there is any container with the name. So what will happen is that our okay, let's not do this. I'm going to comment this one on this. Let's create a new, since we want to delete a container, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an block container instance. Give me a moment. I'm going to create a block container instance. And then what I'm going to do is pass in the container, the connection string and the name. So what was the name? Let's go back to the portal. So this is the connection name. This is the name of our container and we want to delete it, right? So we have created an instance of the Blob container client, which is pointing to this particular container, and now we want to delete it. So to delete it, what you're going to do is, let's see if it deletes it. Let's run our program now and see whether it was able to delete the container or not. To make a note of this one, so that you don't have any doubt whether it went right or not. So we created a Blob container client. Then we passed in the connection string, then the container name, and we call the delete if exists method to delete it. So if there was a blob with the same name, then it would delete it. But right now you can see that the container was deleted. So that's all about it. Let's comment this block out and let's look at a way to upload files. As I told you, we can use the Blob container client along with the Blob client to upload files. I'm sorry. Yeah. So this is the 5 lines of code that you need to upload a text file to Azure. You can upload any kind of file, whether it is a PNG file or else it's a backup file. You can upload anything. It's really easy with the SDK to interact with the blob storage. So let's run this command. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna create an instance which is mapping to the ADC demo container. So as you can see that I have a container over here called ADC demo. So I don't have any file named ts sample file test3 yet. So I am giving the name as test3. So when this file will be uploaded to our blob storage account, it will be named as sample file tst3. So I'm just gonna remove this particular thing. So yes, so I have defined what will be the location and the name. Location and name of our file in the blob storage. I have also mentioned like where will be the file, where is the file which we wanted to upload. So once we get that, we are going to use the upload method of the blob client to upload this file. So let's run this and see whether it uploads it or not. Okay. It has uploaded it. So let's refresh our ADC demo container, and you can see that we have uploaded the file. You can also see the timestamp when it was last modified. So that was all about the blob storage SDK. This is a simple command that allows you to get a list of all the files that are there inside your Azure blob storage container along with this content length. So it's also a simple command. So let's run it. Since we have some time, I'm going to run it too, to show it to people. Let's comment this block, comment this. So it maps to this instance. So all the blobs that are there inside our ADC demo container is gonna loop through all those items, blob items, and it's gonna show the name as well as the length of those files. Let's run this one, and it will show us a list of all the blobs that are there along with the length. Let's wait a bit. You can see that there's one called English as sample file test to text, whose size is 12 bytes. Then the sample file, you can see there are a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blobs over there. Do we have 6 over here? Yes, we do have. There can be a question like, why did it include a folder inside of that? Normally containers don't have a concept of folders within them. You can just give a file name slash the file, give a folder name slash the file name to keep it as a logical grouping, but inherently it doesn't store your file in a folder structure, your blobs in a folder structure inside a container. So Azure Blob Storage doesn't have this feature. So that was all for the Blob Storage SDK. So let's look at Azure Text Analytics SDK. So what is Azure Text Analytics SDK? So Azure Text Analytics SDK is a part of all the cognitive services SDK that allows you to leverage the cognitive services offered by Azure. So one of them is text analytics. So with text analytics SDK, we can do language detection, we can perform sentiment analysis, we can do key phrase extraction, then we can do named entity recognition and linked entity recognition. So let's have a demo of that, and let's get a feel about what SDK can do. So I have created a solution again. So before we look into the code, we need to add a Nugget package, the SDK or the client library to interact with the service text analytics of Azure. So just click on azure.ai .text analytics. So this is the service we are going to use. So just click on install over here, and you'll just get this SDK installed. Once you get that, you need to import namespaces for them. So one is use Azure, then there's azure.ai.text analytics. Now we will need the key as well as the endpoint to interact with this particular text analytics service. So you can get the key by going to Azure. So when you create an text analytics resource, so I have already created a resource. I have it over here in a different resource group. So let's go to this particular service, then click on keys and endpoints, and you'll get your keys and endpoint from here. So I can copy either one of them and put it as a connection string over here, sorry, as a key over here, and get the endpoint URL from here and just paste it over here. After that, I need to create an text analytics client client object by passing the key of our Azure Text Analytics service and the endpoint. So once we pass that, it will authenticate us as a valid user, and it will let us send a request and give us back the responses. So now that we have created a client, let's do some let's do some demos with this service. So I'm sorry. So as mentioned earlier, this service allows us to perform sentiment analysis, opinion mining, and then detect languages, and a lot many things. This service allows us to do a lot many things. So let's have a demo on doing some sentiment analysis and doing some language detection using this SDK. So as you can see that I have created a client already. Okay, I have created it twice. I don't know why. I'm sorry. Oh yes, I have a starting client over here, and I'm going to use it to get the sentiment and the language of the text that we are passing as an input. So I have defined two methods over here. One is get sentiment and the other is detect language. So this get sentiment method takes up the client, the text analytics client, and the input text as a parameter. Then it makes a call to the analyze sentiment method of the client object, text analytics client object, by passing in the input text to get the document sentiment. So it will give you a lot of data, like the confidence of the sentiment being positive, it being negative, it being neutral, or else the general sentiment that it found it to be. So it returns a document sentiment type object. So the response is like this. So earlier I told you, right, when you make an API call, it gives you back in normal JSON data. So you need to again deserialize it. With an SDK, you know what kind of data you're going to get. You have a model for that, and you can just leverage it by calling it. By importing the namespace of the SDK, you can just get all the objects of the type your data is going to come in. So it is going to give back you and document sentiment type object as a response when you make a call to the analyze sentiment. So we are interested only for the to know the sentiment of this input text. So we are going to get it by using the document sentiment property, the sentiment property of the document sentiment object. After that, I have another method to detect language. It also takes an text analytics client object as a parameter and an input text string as another parameter. So it again makes a call to the detect language method of the text analytics client and passes an input text. So once it does that, it gets back the language as well as the confidence and some other metadata or properties of this particular response that you get from the text analytics service. And I'm also interested only for the name, so I'm just getting the name of the digital language. So let's run this and see. So I need to type in. Okay, I didn't set up the startup class again. Okay, let's set this up as a startup project and just click on run. Let's type in hi there. You can see the sentiment is neutral and the detected language is English. So if I said something in let's say some other language, like let me search in Spanish. All right, I'm just gonna copy this and put it in my input. Let's see. Voila, you get it. So the detected language is Spanish. So our application is working well, and we didn't have to write a lot of code. So that's all for the text analytics SDK demo. So now we have a problem statement that we are going to solve. The problem statement is like this. We're working at a starter which has a task of collecting people's view on various government schemes and social welfare programs. You have a fleet of employees who have been gathering information from the people and making reports on the same. So these are local people. We have employees in every city or village in India. They are gathering information, they are writing reports from the feedback that they get from the people. So we used to store all of the reports in a centralized document management system. It can be SharePoint, it can be also in OneDrive, it can be anything. But of late, we came to know that the reports are written in different languages. As I told you, we have people across all the cities in India, and not everyone knows English, right? So we found this problem while analyzing the reports to gather some insights from them that there isn't a single language in which all the reports are written. So multiple reports are written in multiple languages. Now we have a problem. How do we translate all of this document in English so that we can make some sense out of it? So we have hired a few people to rewrite the report in English. But prior to assigning the reports, we need to classify the reports in the language they are written in, which will help us to assign the reports to the right resource. So this is the problem that we are trying to solve in this session today. So we did rope in some people. So there are over 20 official languages in India. So we have people from people who know these 20 languages. One people knows only one language. Nobody can know all these many languages, right? So the problem is we haven't classified. There isn't a category that these all these documents are written in Hindi, all these documents are written in English, or all these languages are written in Odia or Tamil. We don't have a categorization of the whole thing. We haven't classified it yet. So we need to manually again see, identify which language it is, then pass it to the right resource. So there's a lot of manual thing that we need to do. So we want to make an application which can just categorize all of these things and store it in a blob storage. So we want to get rid of our centralized document system. So we want to move to the cloud. We want to put it in the blob storage. So how do we do that? So in this talk, we are going to solve this particular problem. We are going to address this issue. This is the proposed solution. We are going to make a console app which leverages the power of Azure Cognitive Services. Then, depending on the language detected, it's gonna put that file or upload that file into a folder inside the container of the language. Like I have multiple folders. Like one is for English, that's for Hindi, that's for Odia, and if it doesn't belong to any of those languages, it's gonna go into the other section. So this is the proposed solution. Let's see how the solution works. So, okay. So as we saw in the previous two demos of the Blob Storage SDK and the Text Analytics SDK, we needed a few things before getting started. One was to install the SDKs. So as you can see, I have already installed these two SDKs, and these two SDKs are the only thing I need to get this demo up and running. One is the Azure.ai.text analytics SDK, and the other is the Azure.storage for blobs SDK. So for the Azure.ai.text analytics SDK to work well, you need the key for your Azure Text Analytics service, and you also need the endpoint, which I have specified here. Now, to connect with the blob storage, you need a connection string. So I have also defined the connection string. You can just get them for your solution by going to Azure and get it out the way I showed you before in the previous demo. So I have defined the container. I have defined the connection string. Now what I do is that I create a static client object for our text analytics of the text analytics client type. Then I specify the path. I have a flag over here. I specify the file path, where the source file is, where the report is. So right now this report is nothing funky. It doesn't contain any of this data, but it's just a plain simple text containing some. Just give me a moment. Okay, this file contains just a simple message. Hold on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type here something. The ground report is really good. People who are appreciating the efforts of the government. It's just a simple text. These are not my political opinions, to be honest. So it's a random thing. I just wrote it for the purpose of the demo. So I have defined the file path. You can see the file is there here inside my local disk, inside of a folder called demo. So now I'm gonna read all the data that is there in the file. Then I'm gonna create a reference to the particular blob that is my proposed solutions. So as you can see, I have something called proposed solution container over here inside my storage account. So let me just go inside there, containers. You can see I have something called proposed solutions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another container over here so that you people can see that things are actually happening here and we are not bluffing. Proposed solution demo. I'm going to create a new container. I can also create it programmatically as I showed you before. I'm just going to do it here over Azure portal for the demo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reference this particular container. And you can see that this blob container is completely empty. It doesn't have anything. I just created it now. So error. Okay. Okay, master work. Now what I'm doing is I created a reference object for which is pointing to that particular blob container. So what I do next is I detect the language in which this particular file's data is written in. So I pass in a text analysis client object along with the data that we gathered out or read from that particular file. So if the language is English, I upload it inside a folder called English with a report and a randomly generated QID, and then I upload the file. So this upload file is a method again. So there's a detect language method, as I showed you in the previous demo for the text analytics SDK. I'm just making a call to the detect language method of the text analytics client object, which we had created before, by passing in the input text string as a parameter. And once I get the value, I return it. Similarly, the upload file method also does a simple thing. It takes a Blob client as an parameter along with and file path parameter, which is of a string type. Then I read the data from this particular file path and then upload it to the to Azure. I use the upload method of the Blob client to upload it to Azure. Then if everything works well, I put the flag as true, and if I get an exception, which I will get if this doesn't work well, a request field exception will be thrown. If that happens, I'm going to say that it failed to upload the file. So once that is done, then I just check if if the flag is true, like we uploaded the file successfully. I just write file uploaded successfully or results failed. So I support only 3 languages. One is English, that's Hindi, then Odia. Odia is my mother tongue, so I was a bit biased about that. If you have some other language that you want to add on to this application, you can just add it up. I'm going to share the code with Rohit after the session so that he can share it with you people, and you can tinker up with that. So let's attach a debugger over here and let's run and see this application live in action. Okay, I didn't set up the startup object again. So let's set this project as a startup object and run our application. I need to be a bit mindful about this startup object from now onwards. So yes, our application is running. So let's hit F10 and go down. I define the flag, then the connection string, now the file path. Now we're going to read the data from the file that we have defined in the file path. So we were able to get the data. So this is the data that's there inside the file. Next, we are going to create an instance of Blob container client, which maps to our proposed solution demo container. So we have created a client. Now we are going to get the language in which our file was written in, the report was written in. So I'm going to just click F11 and go into this method, and let's see. We are taking these two parameters. One is a client object of text analytics client type, and there's a string of input text. And we get, I'm sorry. Now we are getting a response of detected language type. So there are multiple properties that comes with that. The confidence score, like how confident our service is that this text is written in English. So it's 99% confident. So the scale is from 0 to 100. 0 to 1. So you can multiply into 100 and get the accurate percentage. So the ISO name, the name, and the warnings. We don't have any warnings, and the name is English. So this report was written in English, and we got that. Once that is done, we go through an if condition. You can do it in switch. I know people are pretty skeptical using if, but I have used it for this demo. I have created a Blob client over here, and this will create an instance of okay. So we didn't had any folders are not supported inside containers. I have previously told you, but you can logically group them inside folders. So since I wanted all the reports that are written in English needs to be there inside an English folder, I have added something called English with this slash over here along with the report name. So if you do that, what it's gonna do is that I'll just show you here. So what it's gonna do is gonna create a structure like this, but your folder would be like this. Your folder would be something like English slash this name. The blob name would be something like English slash the blob name or whatsoever is there, like report hyphen the GUID. So we go over there. But in the screen, you will see a logical grouping like this. So let's upload this file. Let's see whether our file is uploaded properly or not. So we are opening a file stream. We are passing the file stream object to our upload method of the blob client, and if it works well, flag is true, and it's going to return us, and done. It's going to say that the file was uploaded successfully inside a folder called English. So let's see the console message. The message is file uploaded successfully. Let's go to our container, the proposed solution demo container, which we just created, and see that we have a folder called English, inside of which we have our file. So we are going to download and see whether we have the same content or it's something else. We got there. Okay, since I didn't specify the extension or the type of this file, it didn't go there, right? So, but the file is still there. You can open it with a notepad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make a small change. Along with the text ID, I'm going to add TXT everywhere. So when we download these files, it's not going to ask us for the application in which we want to open it. Just bear with me. So let's do one thing. Let's go back to Google and convert the whole thing into Hindi. So where's Hindi? So let's replace our sample text file name in Hindi. I'm totally relying on Google to help me out over there with the translation. So if Google screws, I can't do anything up with there. So what should ideally happen is that when we upload this file, it should create a folder named Hindi, inside of which it should store all the content of this file with the name report hyphen the randomly generated GUID. So you can see that currently we have only one folder, that's English, nothing apart from that. We don't have anything in our proposed solution demo. So let's run our application again, and you will see that there will be a new folder in Hindi called Hindi, inside of which we'll have our report. I'm sorry. The file uploaded successfully. See, it's quite fast. I always prefer using SDKs. I hope you people too. So here is Hindi. Let's download this one and open it up. See, right now it doesn't ask us to, ask us for the application in which we should open it. It's a specified TXT over there. So you can see the value. The value is also there. That was there inside our sample.txt. So let's convert it to ODI. So again, I'm relying on Google to do the translation for me. So there is another SDK to translate your stuff. Let's see whether I change it over here. No, I didn't, right? I'm going to translate it again. I'm going to replace the content of the sample text file, and again going to run it. Since there is some issue with this particular SDK, so it's not ODIA, it's ORIYA. So this is how they identify the language ODI as in their SDK. So that's why I had to select ORIYA instead of ODIA. Right? So we translated or we modified the text, and now let's run our application, and it should create a folder named ODI with a file name report hyphen a randomly generated GUI ID. So we should have uploaded it. Let's go back to our blob storage container. Go back to the folder. You can see, yes, it's there. So let's download this file and again check it out, whether it worked well or not. Yes, it did. So let's convert it to Spanish and see whether there's another folder that's been created. Let's do it in Tamil. I'm doing it with a lot of Indian languages, to be honest. I just want to see. I never tried the text analytics identify Tamil as a language, but okay. Let's test it. Let's test it first before running it. One thing I'll do is I'll just attach my debugger over here where it detects the language so that we'll quickly know what it gets. Let's see what was the language that it detected. Oh, it rightly did. It detected that the language was written in Tamil. So this is a very good service for you people to use. The file uploaded successfully, and since it didn't belong to any of the languages I had defined, it should be stored inside a folder called others in our container. So let's go back over here and see the others. There's a file which contains a report, that's written in Tamil. Get it? So this is how easy it is to build solutions leveraging the power of Azure services with the help of Azure SDKs for .NET. So that's all for the demo. So do we have anything for the Q&A?
Yeah, just let me check. So yeah, there are. Okay, so actually, are you able to see the question?
Yes, I am. So what is the limit to upload and download files in? I don't think there are any limitations as such, because you know I just give me a moment. I'm not pretty sure. There shouldn't be any limitations, like there is one thing, like if you are having a storage account as in an hota, you are able to get your data really fast. But I don't think there is any limitation in which the number of times you can download a file or upload a file to Blob. There are no such limitations. But yes, if you want to add the cost factor, and if you have some files which you not open frequently, they can go to a cold tire, and that will reduce your cost. But I don't think there are any limitations as such.
Okay. So here's the next question from Nikunj.
What is the secure way to connect storage account? Say I don't want to share connection string to application. Okay, Nikunj, there are a few things. You can use Microsoft.identity SDK to connect to the storage account using Azure Active Directory. That's one way. Or else, there's another way to do it. You can store your connection string inside your key vault and make a call to the key vault using an key vault SDK, and just get your application up and running. Hope it answers.
Yes. How? So there's one more question from Nikunj.
And how we can use Azure Key Vaults? So you can create a resource in Azure, and then it will take another session, to be honest. You can just create an Azure Key Vault resource and store your keys, store your what do you say, the connection string over there in a key value pair, then reference it to your application setting. So when you deploy your application to Azure, it will be able to get the value directly from there. You need to use the Key Vault SDK to get those values from there too. So that's one more thing, one more SDK inside your application to use.
Okay. So yeah.
Once the file get uploaded in Azure Container, highlight get the URL of the file. Yes, we can. There's one method. I don't remember right now, but there is a method to get the URI of the uploaded blob. So just give me a moment. I'll just answer it. But there should be one. You should get in the documentation. So that's one. We can go with the next question. Rohit, I'll definitely answer this, Karthik. Just give me a moment. I'm just searching it up.
Sure, sure. Actually, I'm taking all the questions so that we answer all of them. So there's one more question from Nikunj.
Okay. Is it possible to have a nested level container inside container like folder and so forth? I think that's a no. So the thing is, Nikunj, containers are again individual units, right? You cannot nest containers inside containers. But one thing you can do is that, as I told you, we don't have concept of folders inside blob storage container, but you can logically group them by typing in your folders. By typing in your files along the folder names. So suppose I had a folder named demo, inside which I had a folder called sample, then I had a file named abc.txt. What I can do is that when I upload a file, I can give in the name as demo slash sample slash abc.txt. So what it will do is that when it will show us in the screen, like when it will show us in the blob storage explorer or anywhere like that, it will show us in a folder structure. But when we want to list out, like I showed you in the demo, right? When we were showing you the list of all the files that are there inside a container, the file which was there inside the folder came up with a folder name along with that. It was like the folder name slash the file name. So you'll get the name of your file like this. So if you want to logically group it, you can while creating the file in the container, you can write it in this particular way to upload your file in a folder structure and see it like this in the container. But there are no ways to actually group them by nesting containers or grouping in a just like a folder structure. It's just a logical grouping.
Okay, so next is from Vishwas.
Can we migrate to other programming language if not .NET? So Vishwas, the thing is with APIs, any language which can make HTTP requests can just call up these Azure services. So with SDKs also, the thing is pretty same. So like we have SDKs for different languages. Since I'm primarily from a .NET background, that's why I gave a demo on the .NET SDKs for Azure. There's one for Python, there's one for Go, and there's one for Java as well. So there are SDKs for different languages. So you can use the SDK of those languages of your choice. So if you're a Python guy, you can use the SDKs of Python. So this would be like packages for you. So you can just pip install those packages and use them.
Okay, so next we have
the method remains same. I would like to say to Vishwas, the methods and everything stays the same across the languages, because in 2019 probably there was a change in the way the SDKs used to be built. So all these SDK have a unified structure now in Azure. So if you are having one particular feature in a .NET SDK, it's pretty much you'll get the same over in a Python package to connect with the service. So everything is quite unified and uniform across the SDKs of different languages. So you can easily migrate your application if you have a concern with the SDK, to be honest.
Okay, I hope that answers the question. So next we have Vivek Raja.
What if I needed to do text analysis for huge corpus of data? Is there any limitations in text content length? Yes, there is a limitation in text content length, Vivek. Thanks for bringing it in. So I don't remember the exact figure right now, but it should be something around 5,000 characters, I guess. It should be something around this mark. There's a limitation around the 5,000 character mark. So what you can do is that I have a paragraph, right? Inside the report, there can be multiple paragraphs. We can just pass it as different paragraphs as one sentences and make a request on that and get all of that and say, get a summary of it, like sentiment that it got. So there are ways to do it, but yes, there is a limitation of 5,000 characters, which you can process at one particular time.
Yes, so we have one question from Sai.
Okay, Sai, can we create an empty subdirectory in Azure container? Empty subdirectory as in what? Like you cannot see. The thing with container is they don't work the way folders work in our normal directory. So what happens is that if you want to have a subdirectory, you can attach the subdirectory name along with your file name by having a forward slash in between them. Forward, I guess. Yeah, forward slash. So in that way, you can, when you see that graphically in a storage explorer or else inside a cloud explorer or else in the Azure portal, you'll see a logical grouping like this in the way you want it as to be represented as a subdirectory. But inside, what it happens is that it attaches the name of the folder along with the file name. So when you call a method like okay, so I showed you before, right? During the blob storage demo, when we are reading all the files, the using the blob item method and the get blob async method, what happens is that the blob name will come along with the folder name as well as the file name. So internally, you cannot have subdirectories, but you can make a logical grouping to make it visible in the portal or else any GUI way you want to see it, like in Cloud Explorer or Storage Explorer. Just to see it graphically, you can do it, but internally it doesn't has any subdirectory of that sort.
Okay, so Ashirwad, we have one question from Ayush. I'm not sure whether the question is complete or not. If you could, thank
But
you.
yeah, mix of language tech. Now that's a tricky problem to face. So I am not really sure how to handle this, but you get a confidence score. So what we can do is, this is not accurate. I'll be really honest. So what we can
Okay.
do is the max, whatever the confidence score of our text analytics service comes for this particular report, we can go ahead with that. But if there is a mix of languages, we need to have a human intervention. So we can define, like, if the confidence score of our text analytics service for this language is less than 75% or something or that, we will put in a different blob container for manual human intervention. Like a human will go through that and identify which language it is written in.
So I think
This
similar
can be a
thing.
proposed solution, but
So
yes,
Ashir
sorry.
Nikunj has tried to answer it. So I'd like to show it.
Sure.
So I think this is the same
Yes.
gist that.
Right. This makes sense.
Yeah.
This was the thing I was trying to say. Thank you, Nikunj.
Thank you, Nikunj. Thank you. So yeah, I'll take just one last question. It's from Kedar.
Okay. Limiters for text analytics service call. So if you're in the free tier, you can only make 5,000 calls per month. So that is a limitation. But you can go to some other tiers to increase your service calls. since I'm using a free tier, I have these limitations. So if you're working it as an hobby project, using it as for an hobby project, then there's a limitation that you'll have to pay if you're not paying for the service. 5,000 service call is the max you can do for a month.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I think that's all we have
Is there
for
any more
questions.
questions?
Yeah, we have a few like a
Okay,
few
just
more questions. Yeah,
okay,
Shiva.
okay. So I just wanted to show the I just wanted to show the resources.
Mm-hmm.
So just Rohit, it will be great if you can just share my screen a bit.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, it's here.
So these are a few resources where you can find everything about Azure SDKs, irrespective of the languages. So if there is a language for which there are no SDKs, you can go to the guide over here. There is a guide in which the people at Azure actually make SDKs. So you can follow that. If it it takes all the marks, benchmarks, and you can upload your SDK for your particular language. So if you have created a custom language of your own and it doesn't have a SDK, Azure SDK for the time being, you can absolutely make one using this guide. So this is for the GitHub repo. So in this particular link, you will find all the SDK, the samples, and their codes, the internal code that's there and that. Everything is open source. You can find it out there. Then this particular link, this blog one, will give you insights about all the latest changes that has been going on. So there are some SDKs which are still in beta mode, or else they are yet to be GA. So you can get all the updates about them from this particular link. So that's for the resources. Yes, Rohit, we can go ahead with the next set of questions.
Yeah, so I have already shared the links here in this live comment box. So
Perfect.
there is one more question. So we have one question from Manik. Yeah.
Okay. Do we get to know the accuracy and precision of text translation that you showcased using Azure? Yes, like I showed previously in the demo too, like the object that is written from our client, when we make a call to that particular method to detect the language or detect language, it gives us a few properties. It gives us an object with a few properties, and one of those properties is the confidence score. So you can also get the confidence score that your service, that this cognitive service has for this particular language that it showed you. So I showed you, right? For English, it showed 99%. The scale was from 0 to 1. So 0.99 was like 99% accuracy. It was 99% confident that this was written in English. Hope it answers, Manik.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think there's just one last question from Nikunj.
Text analytics supported files extension apart from text like image, PDF file, Office file. Nikunj, you need to give it in a string format. It takes a string parameter. So if you can use some other libraries or extensions to like get the value and get extract the value from the content, like you are saying an image file, right? So if you can use an OCR service, something like that, and extract the text file from it and pass it to the detect language, or else the analyze sentiment method of the text analytics client object, then it will definitely be able to use it. But if it pass in a PDF file or it's an image file, then it won't be able to perform any analysis on that and give you any insights. So you need to pass it as a string object.
Okay. So yeah, Nikunj has already like responded back to the your answer. So yeah,
Okay.
guys, here are the resources links that uh, Ashirwad has shared. Those are also there in the comment box. You can go through them. And yeah, Ashirwad, I don't think if you have any more questions, you have already answered all of them. It was really nice. So
Yeah.
so Ashirwad, if possible, you can share other resources if you could find. like there were some questions from people, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that we
This
wanted to
this
discuss.
okay. Just let me share my screen. I'll just share this one. So normally when I get stuck with this SDKs, what I do is I just go over here. Just give me a moment. I just go to this if you want to check about any of the latest updates. So this is my go-to place to get about all the updates. So if you have any issues with the documentation, or if you want any snippets, code snippets for to add a particular functionality for this particular service in your application, you can just go to this URL. In this URL you'll find everything, like starting from the documentation to the packages. And if there are any changes that are about to happen, then it'll, like I previously mentioned, right? Like earlier the storage, blob storage used to be microsoft.azure.storage.blob, but now it's something different. It's just azure.storage.blob. So all these changes will be shown over here. Like, see, the service bus hasn't been into GA, the updated one hasn't been into GA, but it will replace the Microsoft dot service bus. If you want to go into documentation of it, just click over here and you'll get the documentation. Just give me a moment. I hope it. Okay. So here you'll find everything. You'll get the code snippets, the details, everything you will find from this particular page. It has a link from documentation to code snippets to everything. So just use this one. I'm just passing into Rohit, and you can use it.
Yes.
Just give me a moment. I'm just passing to Rohit. Here you will find the documentation of all the SDKs that are there in Azure. Every service which has a SDK, you will get that over here in this particular page.
Okay. So I think we don't have any more questions, Ashirwad. So that was a really awesome session, Ashirwad, and I hope you will be having more sessions coming up in the coming months also. So as mentioned earlier, like Ashirwad is leading the communities in Jharkhand and Odisha. So in case if you are from these regions, you can join the communities and you can contact with Ashirwad for any of the doubts. And yeah, you can also contribute to these communities along with Ashirwad. So yeah, that's all. Thank you so much, Ashirwad, for joining us today. On
Thank you,
Sunday, we
Rohit.
know it's very difficult to like get time for all these things, like for the community, since it's Sunday and we all want to relax
It's,
and spend
it's, a,
time with our friends. But that's really nice to see from you,
it's a
Ashirwad.
pleasure. It's a pleasure, Rohit. Thank you for inviting. Thank you, Rohit. Thank
So
you for inviting, and happy to be a part of it. You know, And thank you for the shout out again. And people do join in if you are interested to be a part of the community and grow along with the community. We have some great speakers lined up next month to host some great talks on topics related to Azure, revolving around Azure services and cloud computing. So just join in and stay updated about it. And for the future session, Rohit, you are the one. You need to just give me a slot and I'll be there. So it's all up to
yes,
you if I come into the next session or not.
we definitely will have you. All right.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
All right.
Ashirwad.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Rohit.
you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining in on a weekend. Have a great day. Stay safe and meet you some other day.
Sure. Bye bye. All right. So that was Ashirwad. Yeah. So in case if you are from any of these regions from Jharkhand or Odisha, you can join the communities. So yeah. Also we have this quiz now. So let me share the quiz link with you all. So the top five winners will be getting Azure certification vouchers worth $165. And here is the link for the quiz. Also, let me share in this comment box. So the quiz will end at 12:20. And let me show you how to do that. So this is the link for quiz. All you need to do is you just need to give your details like name, email address, and phone number, so that in case if you're one of the top scorers, we'll be reaching out to you over your registered email address. And once you give that, you can find 10 different multiple choice questions. And based on your score, the top 5 scorers will be awarded with certification voucher. Let's see how many people are playing here. I hope you guys are not facing any issues with the link. Here is the link given in the comment box. Okay, so we have one entry from Saikar. Okay, so Navin has scored 9 and Saikar has scored 6. Guys, we have just 2 more minutes left. So okay, since we started the quiz a bit late, so we'll close at 12:21. Those who haven't participated yet, please do soon. We already have 10 people participating in the quiz. All right. So it's 12:21, and here is the final count. So here are the final score. So we'll take a screenshot of this. Thank you all for participating in the quiz. In case if you are not among the top scorers, don't worry. We also have We regularly do this quiz for all our meetup sessions, so you can join and participate there and win. So before we end today's session, I would just like to mention about Azure Developer Community, as I was mentioning. So you can join your nearest community to attend the regular sessions. And also we have several developer contests and challenges. One among them is Azure Developer Challenge, which is going to end on 31st of March. So this is nothing but a developer challenge where we are inviting developers like you to upskill on various technologies using Azure. All you need to do is register for the conference, and once you register, you'll be getting a confirmation email with 3 different challenges link, which will be Python on Azure, Node.js on Azure, and .NET on Azure. So you can complete any one of these challenges, and after successful completion, you can submit them here in submission form. So yeah, that's all. Thank you all for joining us today. It was really nice to have you all on the Sunday morning. So see you again at our next meetup. Thank you.